Thank you very much. And I will start the questions. And I want to ask you just a quick question on one of your 4 points of the release of the information this morning. You mentioned hire more staff. Is that at Fish and Wildlife, hire more staff?
I think basically what the plan calls for is agencies doing the assessment that is necessary to determine where they need resources and then acting on that.
Well, I would recommend Fish and Wildlife has been is holding up a lot of the permitting, and it's very frustrating to a lot of people who are trying to move whatever the project, clean energy, whatever the project. It's so on that one, I think we both agree there's more resources needed. Let me ask you about the international situation, since I mentioned that in my opening statement. We see that the unprovoked invasion of Ukraine has really, I think, put a light, and the President has talked about this, on the need for energy security both here and abroad. And he has, the President has mentioned the ability of the United States to help with liquefied natural gas and things of that nature to help Europe become less dependent on Putin. So I guess, would you agree that we must immediately act to replace Russian imports into Europe with American-made energy? Do you agree with that?
Senator, what I would say, the President has been clear that the Ukraine situation and Russia's unprovoked action causes us to look at our the current crises that we were already dealing with, and the climate crisis being critical to that, to assess how we take action that helps the Ukraine situation but doesn't undermine our overall goals for climate action.
Well, I was going to ask next, have you taken any specific actions to strengthen our energy security, increase our domestic energy production to meet this, and export more? I think the answer to that is no.
I think the answer, Secretary Capito.
Well, I'll take it.
Secretary Senator Capito is that what we are trying to do, as I said, is find that balance so that the President can continue to provide the support that Ukraine needs, but that we don't lose track of our overall goals to address the climate.
Well, I guess I'm talking less about Ukraine at this point, although there's certainly in our hearts and minds, and where we're going to be passing in probably a very large package to help them. I'm talking about the rest of Europe, who is now held hostage to Putin and his natural gas supplies. Let me ask you this question on the permitting issue that I've talked about with the IIJA. Does this run into conflict with some of the goals that you've set forward in terms of a 2-year timeline, a 90-day repeat, shortening the time of the projects? How do you see those working in conjunction with one another? Because I feel as though you could create a conflict there.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Senator. I appreciate that question. I mean, one of the things that I have been trying to do, consistent with the President's goals from the beginning of my time at CEQ, is find a way to meet the multiple goals that the President has set before us. He has been very clear that he wants us to ensure that we get the projects done that are necessary in order to meet the investments that we've identified as being important through the bipartisan infrastructure law and other laws, but to do it in the right way so that we are making smart decisions that allow us to meet our multiple goals. So I would say that the whole effort that is reflected in the Permitting Action Plan this morning is us trying to bring together sort of the best tools that are available that to take advantage of what we know has worked in the federal government to get decisions done in a way that is both appropriate but also recognizes what our ultimate values are, and that is what we believe we can achieve through the Permitting Action Plan so that you get the projects, but you also get them done well.
Yeah, I was interested in one of the quotes from your statement is more building in the next few years, and it appears sort of laced through your the action plans that you took on the NEPA regulatory changes, where you've taken down 3 of the major provisions that the Trump administration put forward. I mentioned it in my opening statement. Only sets up more regulations from different federal regulators. Again, it looks like a burdensome well, how do I want to say this? A burdensome package, again, to slow any kind of new construction or even a CCUS project.
Well, Senator, I guess what I would say, thank you for that question. I mean, one of the things that the work that we did in the NEPA provisions was focused on is making sure that we're able to do the analysis that effectively determines what are the impacts that a project is going to cause. If you narrow your focus to such an extent that you are not actually considering the real impacts of a project, that is just setting us up for failure. So our focus has been on making sure that the agencies have the tools to do the necessary analysis, but then to support them in ways that they can do it in a time-efficient manner.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Senator Cardin. Is he on WebEx?
I'm with you. Thank you, Madam Chair.